Okay, now I will show you how jump star percentage EAS actually works. So for demo purpose, I am putting 0 to the stack, top of the stack, right? Push 0 and move ESP to EAX. That means both EAX and ESP are actually pointing to the top of the stack. Now comes the interesting point. What is the meaning of percentage EAX surrounded by parentheses? In that case, we are actually reading the content of EAX wherever it is pointing to. It's pointing to top of the stack. So EAX with the memory referencing will have 0. Okay. And now we are jumping to 0th location, which may not be a valid location. So the program is going to crash. Okay, let's compile and run this first, and then we will modify it. Okay, let me compile this code. Jump EAX, the memory referencing, right? And we will see what happens. Okay, disassemble the code as always. Put a breakpoint at this location, right before the jump statement is going to run, and run. You can look at what is there in ESP. Okay, ESP is a stack pointer pointing to the location BFFF09C, and EAX is also same because of move statement. Okay, now if you run it, the program is going to crash because the content within EAX, right? Let's look at content within EAX. The content within EAX is 0. Okay, so if I now continue, it's going to crash. Yeah, it crashed. Okay, so let's now replace that push statement by something else, by the content of something else. Okay, let's say, suppose I don't want it to execute this statement, right? I want to replace it by this address. Let's try that. Okay. Again, hard coding the address is not a problem in my case because ASLR is not randomizing the address of the text region. Okay. Otherwise, this won't work. All right. Now, you need to be correct that this address is a valid address. That's what I mean. Okay. Let's compile and load and see what happens now. Disassemble, start. Okay, turned out not a valid address, so I need to compile it one more time. So let me take this instead. Okay, let's look at what is there in my assembly code to make sure my hardcode addresses are fine. Yeah, it should be fine now. It's pointing to this address, so it should skip this statement. Okay, let's do that now. Let me put a breakpoint at this location, right? And we will continue. Run, run, print EAX. EAX will have the top of the stack, and ESP is also the top of the stack. But if you now examine what is there in EAX, right? It should point to the address of the code, which is the address that we placed, right? You see here, it's the address that we placed, which is this instruction. So it should skip the move statement. Okay. All right, let's do that. If you put a breakpoint at the move statement, it should not hit. I'll put a breakpoint. It should not hit there. Okay. Now I'm going to step instruction, right? You see here, it is directly jumping to that 48062, the address ending at 48062 instead of 4805D, although 4805D occurs higher on the text region address. That's because the jump statement is jumping there to this address. Okay, so to conclude the discussion, what we are doing here is that if we are referencing the memory to get the address to jump, we should put a parenthesis here, okay, like this, jump star the parenthesis percentage EAX. Okay. If we don't put the parenthesis, in this case, it's going to crash because EAX is containing the stack pointer, which doesn't contain the actual code to run, right? ESP is just containing the stack pointer. So let me show you what I mean by that. Let's replace this by, let's remove this parenthesis in this case. It should not work. I'll load it into GDB. I'll disassemble the start. I will put a breakpoint at this point and run and show you what is there on the EAX, on ESP. They both are pointing to the top of the stack. But remember, this star is not, we are just using the star for indirect jump. That is the meaning of this. Okay, but what is the EAX has this address, and that address doesn't have code. The code is actually in either here, here, or here, right? These are the places where code is. It's no meaning, it doesn't make sense to jump to this address which doesn't have code. Okay, it may have some data, but that data may not be code. Okay, I can show you some data inside. If that address has some data, we can see it. For example, print whatever. It may not be code, right? One moment. Examine, say, some instruction. Although it's not code, it's going to show some garbage instructions, very likely. You see here some instructions are there. So it's going to come to this instead of the actual code that we would like to jump. Okay. Let's just continue. As you can see, it received a segmentation fault because it was hitting this address, which has some weird instruction, which is not well formed. Maybe the addresses are not correct or content is not correct. The code is not correct, whatever. In any case, you understood the main point that you can also look at why it crashed, right? Because it was trying to execute this bound instruction, which probably has no meaningful value when it is doing pointer referencing here. Okay. In any case, if you are using jump, you need to be careful whether you are going to refer the memory to grab the address. That address should contain the code. Okay. Or you can directly reference the EAX register, and that EAX register should contain the address which contains the code. Okay, that's basically what I mean. Okay, let's wrap it up. So you need to put, in this case, a parenthesis, otherwise it's not going to work. Okay, let me load it into GDB and wrap it up. All right, this should happily work, and it should not hit the move statement. It should not, because EAX is pointing here. When jump statement executes, it should directly jump here. Okay, see? Yeah, the program terminated normally. So that's basically it. Thank you for your attention.